Hi there, welcome back. Let's continue with Matplotlib. Today I'm going to be talking to you about something really important, something that some people find it a bit difficult to understand or to explain it to other people. So I'm going to make it very easy for you to understand it, to explain it to other people. Today I'm going to be talking about histograms. Before I go deep into the explanation of histograms, I would really appreciate if you like my videos and subscribe to my channel. It does really help to grow my channel. Histograms form the foundation of a lot of decision making in data science. We make a lot of decisions on what model to make, what type of pre-processing to do, what type of data wrangling to do just by looking at the histogram of the data. What does really a histogram mean and what does it really show? To understand a histogram, let's think about a neighborhood. And you're trying to give some statistics and some data to the mayor, to the city hall about that block of, let's say, 500 houses. They're trying to understand what is the age range of people and how many people are in each age range. Well, one way would be to report this data in a bar graph. Say there is one person who is 23 years old and 8 months. There is one more person who is 24 years old and 2 months, and so forth. Like literally making 500 bar charts, which is not really the smart way of doing that. The way you would probably do that, you would make buckets. You would say, I'm gonna have every 5 year as one bucket. So 0 to 5 years, 6 to 10 years, 10 to 15 years, and then choose people and put them in respective buckets. So probably you would have say 20 buckets from 0 to 100 years old, and you would put people in those buckets, and then you would say, we have 10 people in the bucket of 0 to 5 years old. So that means that there are 10 people living in this neighborhood, that they are between the age of 0 to 5 years old, and so forth. This is the idea behind a histogram that shows you the graph of how many people live in each bucket, or in statistical terms, in each bin. You make bins and you put people in respective bins. Hi there, welcome back. This is an example of a histogram. This is very close to the example that I gave in the introduction, 0 to 5 years old, 6 to 10 years old, all the way to 26 to 30 years old. So this doesn't really go to the 100, but I'm really trying to show you what it looks like. So in a neighborhood that I'm living in, or think about the people in your family, whatever example that suits you, there are 3 to 4 people that are aged between 0 to 5. There are closer to 27 people that are between 6 to 10, and so forth. This is really helpful for us to understand the distribution of data. Distribution of data essentially means how many data points organized into user-specified ranges are there in the data. So a histogram is an approximate representation of the distribution of numerical data. Let's go ahead and make a Jupyter notebook, matplotlib _ 6, and this one is about histograms. If you want to follow along, I've left a link to my GitHub repository on histograms down below in the description. Feel free to go and download the code and follow with me. That will really help you to reinforce this learning. Okay, from matplotlib import pyplot as PLT. So if you have seen my previous videos, I have run you through how to make a blank canvas. Let's import the pyplot module from the matplotlib library and make a figure like I always do. I like to make a placeholder for my figure and PLT plot. I'm not going to be using plt.plot, but I just want to show you how I make figures. So this is going to give me a blank canvas that I can start writing data into it. Let's go and import data from my previous notebook. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring my previous notebook. I'm just going to go ahead and copy the age variable only to start. This is the age of people who took part in a survey on the Stack Overflow website. What I want to make a histogram, something like this, from that data, because I want to understand the respondents, in what age groups did they belong and how many of them were there. So I'm not going to use plt.plot, I'm just going to use plt.hist. Let me run this. So now I have a variable of age. First off, I'm not going to change any variables, any parameters. I'm just going to try and plot the histogram of the variable age. Let's see what it gives me. Okay, if you look at the documentation for plt.hist on Matplotlib website, you will see that there are many parameters that we can change, but the second parameter, which is really important, is the number of bins. If I read the description for that, it is an integer or a sequence or a string, but the default is 10 bins. So essentially this data here has been divided into 10 buckets. If bins is an integer, it defines the number of equal width bins in the range. All right, what if I go ahead and say bins equals 12? Does it change? Yes, it does. 20, 50. Well, I'm not doing really a favor to myself. Let's lower it. 5, 3. So you can see that there is this bin here, there is this bin here, and there is this bin here. I'll probably go with 8. Probably 10 default. In reality, it doesn't matter if this histogram is a pretty one or it's not. This histogram is giving us information about the data, and that's all that matters. What I can understand from this histogram is that the age variable of all those people who took part in the survey, pretty much the same number of people in different age groups responded to the survey. So from 15 to 25, 4 people, 25 to 35, 4 people, 25 to 35, 3 people, and so forth. Does a histogram really need to be pretty? Well, no, because it's not there for it to be pretty. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and copy the Python developer salary from my other notebook, which is in my GitHub repository. Bring that in. I want to look at the distribution of pay for Python developers. Let's run that. And I'm just going to copy this. Bring it, copy that instead of age. The pay goes somewhere just under 20,000 USD, all the way just over 120,000. This is the distribution of the pay for Python developers. A lot of people get paid between 70,000 to 100,000 USD, but very surprisingly, there is a big bucket of people who get paid $20,000. This is the type of interpretation you want to make from a histogram. Let's look at Java developers. I'm just going to copy Java developers, run that, copy Java salary, paste it here. Java developers have a lot of people who are getting paid over 100,000 USD, but also a big bucket around 20 to 30,000 mark. Let's start making this plot a bit prettier. I'm just going to add a title to it and Java pay distribution in USD. I'll go PLT X label will be pay in USD. Let's add a font size of 16 there to make it a bit bigger. I don't really like the fact that these bars are very mingled and very close to each other. So what I'll probably do, I'll go ahead and say edge color. I want to add black edge colors to it. Okay, this is easier to visualize. I can change the color if I wanted to. Color equals red. Maybe if I change the number of bins, it will be more visible. I can do that for Python salaries. Let's just copy that to Java salaries better. And I have to change this. This is not Java now. This is Python. So if you remember when we looked at the documentation in Matplotlib for histogram, I told you that you can use an integer for the number of bins, or you can use a sequence. So you can essentially how many bins and in what order you want them. So what I can do, I can say I want bins equal to a list of starting from $10,000, 40, 50, 130. And I'm just going to go ahead and say, okay, I don't want 20 bins. I want you to set bins equal to the bins that I have specified. Let's look at that. It goes from 10 to 20, 20 to 30. And what it does, the data says 10 to 20. How many people do fall between 10,000 and 20,000? Well, 1 person. How many people fall between 20,000 to 30,000? 3 people, and so forth. So I am managing the number of bins and also the width of the bins. I could make it every 5,000, which would be a bit more detailed. You might ask, what would happen if we didn't consider 10,000 as the minimum and 130,000 as the maximum in the number of bins? Well, you will lose data. This is where you gotta be really careful. So you know that I have a person that gets paid in the bucket of 10,000 to 20,000 because I can see them here. But now, if I delete 10,000 from the number of bins and run that again, you can literally see that I lost that person. This is why you gotta be careful when you are gonna be setting the min and max. Well, if you're only interested in a section of the data, perfectly fine. But I don't want you to mistakenly lose some data because you set your bins in the wrong format. So I don't like this. I'm just gonna go back. I will have 10,000 back, and I'll run it again, and I'm happier with this. I'll probably make this a bit longer. Let's add a PLTY label and call it number of, okay, I have a label here now. What I can do, I can probably add a grid, give it some transparency of 25 because I don't want really dark grid. Yes, this is better. This makes it really easy to read. What if I wanted to plot Python and Java side by side? Remember, there is a video on making subplots. I've left a link up the top right. Go ahead and click on that and tell me what you think. But I'm going to do it here. So I want a figure. I'm just going to add it here. And a figure and axes equals to a PLT subplots of 1 row, 2 columns of the same fig size, Python in number 0. And let's copy and paste this. And I'm gonna put Java in axis number 1, make this Java salary. Let's run that. I need to copy these for both axes. So let's copy this, make this axis 0, because every single subplot has its own title and its own grid and its own labels. So that's axis 0. This is going to be axis 1. So the first one is Python. So I'm just going to retain Python. This is going to be Java. And I'm going to change the color of Java to blue. And I have to change these to set and set title, set X label, cool. Now, Python developers on the left in red and Java developers in blue on the right. And we have the same number of bins for both of them. So you can see that both run from 0 to 130,000 probably. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and subscribe to my channel because I'm coming back with box plots next. There are many ways you can make your plots more informative. Somebody would ask you in the room, what is the average pay for Python developers? Well, without you thinking off the top of your head, you can put that line that goes through and says the mean is, for example, $70,000. So let's do that. I'm gonna make a new cell here, underscore Python for the mean value of. Before we do that, we need to import numpy as np because I'm gonna be using the mean function. And I'm gonna say np mean of Python salary and 1 for mean Java equals np.mean of Java underscore salary. So I have those two values saved in a variable, and I'm just going to add them to the graph. The way we add it, let's first add it to axis number 0, which represents Python, and you will need to use the function xvline, add the mean of Python, and add a color to it. Let's say the color will be, and you can add a label to it. Label equals mean Python salary. So let's run this and it will appear on the Python graph first. That's this black line over here. Probably let's choose a color that is more representative. Let's make it blue. Oops, sorry, not there. Green, this green line here. And I'm gonna do the same for Java. So run that here, make this axis 1 because I want it to appear here. And I believe I have changed this mistakenly to blue. Yep. And I want the mean Java here. Great. So I have the mean values appearing here. What I can also do, I can change line width equals 4 to make it bigger, and also the same xvline on Java. The reason I'm not seeing the labels, so this is mean Java salary, axis 0 dot legend. That's going to be for the Python one. And I need to copy the same thing for Java axis 0, axis 1 legend. So I'll have mean Python salary here, mean Java salary on the second graph. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and hit the bell to be notified when I post new videos.